Ready? Will the July 10, 2014 Dune City Council meeting please come to order? Welcome, everyone. Mr. Hilton, can we please get a roll call?
Thank you, Mayor. It's Mayor Rebecca Reedy.
Here.
Council President Jamie Mills.
Here.
Councilor Dick Anderson. Here. Councilor Ed Scarberry. Here. Councilor Marie Sanders.
I am present.
And Councilor Sheldon Meyer.
Present.
And let the record show that Councilor Duke Wells is absent and excused.
Thank you. Thank you. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilors, I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Moved and seconded that we approve tonight's agenda. Any questions? Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve tonight's consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, there we go. We're on. Agenda item number 6, announcements. Darlene Beckman, Planning Commissioner and retired active member of several committees, has passed away on Saturday, June 28th. Her memorial service will be held here at City Hall on Saturday, July 12th at 1 p.m. During its July 24th regular session, the Planning Commission will make appointments to a Citizen Advisory Committee for the review of Ordinance 203, Septic System Maintenance. During our August 14th City Council meeting, Ross Pizer, our University of Oregon intern, will present the results of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Path Needs Assessment Survey. Volunteers are needed to fill 3 budget committee openings, 1 Parks and Recreation Commission opening, and 1 water tester for Silcoos Lake. The Dune City Artists of the Month are students from the Sayusla High School. Very interesting art around the room. Mr. Hillman, is there anyone signed up for citizen input this evening? All right, thank you. All right. At this point in time, we have a presentation to make. And before I begin, I'd like to thank Councilor Wells, who's absent, for getting the council to recognize a very special citizen. And this is our 3rd one, and I'd like to please call forward Mr. George Burke. Thank you, George. I'd like to read my presentation, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay. This evening we have a very special presentation. Before I begin, I will again thank Councilor Duke Wells for bringing forth a recommendation to the City Council to recognize the citizens in Dune City that have given countless hours of their personal time as volunteers. Our selection of the 3rd recipient of this award couldn't be anyone more deserving. Mr. George Burke epitomizes the true image of what it means to be a volunteer. When he signs up for a task, he doesn't think, what's it going to cost me? Or how much time will it take? He simply digs in, gets his hands dirty, and tirelessly keeps a smile on his face while he gets the job done. Mr. Burke has been a member of the Planning Commission for a total of 9 years. As a Planning Commissioner, he's also served as Chairman and Vice Chairman of the Commission, and as such has been a long-standing representative to the Road Commission. His service also extends to the Budget Committee for a total of 3 years. George has spent hundreds of hours assisting with an update and modification of Dune City Code, including the recently adopted Master Transportation Plan. And as a member of the Ordinance Review Committee, he's worked diligently making sure our code is clear, objective, and defensible. In addition to his time on city commissions and committees, George has volunteered many hours to city informational and fundraising events, including the Christmas events that we've had over the years, the Festival of the Lakes, the paddle-only poker run, and most notably and recently, the Oregon Dunes Triathlon and Duathlon. I think he said at this year's event he was at the end of the earth out there with those bicycles. It is residents like Mr. Burke who make Dune City a nice place to live. It's both an honor and a privilege to present Mr. George Burke with this award for being selected as Dune City Volunteer of the Year 2014. You want to say anything?
Oh, short, just short.
Okay.
You know me, I always
Okay.
want to say something.
Okay, yeah, here.
It's just I've always done volunteering as long as I can remember, and I only could have done it with the support of my wife. And the motivation for keep going and keep doing this is the good people that have stepped up year after year to help this city be a better place. And I thank all of you and all of the Planning Commission and all the other committees and commissions for making this place better. That's all I strive for. And I know that's what most of you do too. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you, Laura. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, George.
Yeah, very cool. Moving along to agenda item number 9, unfinished old business. We have, Mr. Hilden, did Councilor Wells leave a report with you this evening
Well,
that you might share?
I spoke with Councilor Wells, who's unable to be with us this evening, about the septic education program. He actually prepared a final report, and I think it was probably maybe an oversight on my part or a process issue, but the long and short of it is I believe he will yield a recommendation to council to move that to another regular committee, and I would like to just defer this item until the next council meeting for that to happen.
Of course,
Okay.
that'll be, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. Ordinance 203 Advisory Committee, Mr. Hilden?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. As you recall, at the last council meeting, the council directed some action by the Planning Commission. I'd like to just briefly update everyone on that so you know what's moving ahead with that process. At their regular meeting on Thursday, June 26th at 5 p.m., the Planning Commission reviewed the council instructions by way of the motion that was made by Council President Mills and eventually seconded by Councilor Sanders after some clarification. That information was well documented in the minutes that were presented tonight. After that, they reviewed the Planning Commission reviewed the Citizen Involvement Program policy, which was adopted by the City Council back in January. It's basically the administrative procedure that's used by the Planning Commission to employ citizen advisory committees and the citizen involvement process relative to comprehensive plan amendments and any post-acknowledgement plan amendment, including land use matters. And that was all reviewed very thoroughly and gone through to make sure that they understood exactly what was required of them and expected of them, because that procedure calls out their responsibilities pretty clearly. And then they closed the session with deliberation and decision on the public notice that has been posted in the Cytoslaw News, online, and here at City Hall and the post office and all of our usual places, basically announcing that they will appoint a CAC at their July 24th regular meeting. And so that process is moving ahead very nicely, as quickly as it possibly could. I look forward to citizens applying. Applications are available online and can be submitted by fax or in person or by email if it's scanned in some way and sent to one of the city's email addresses.
Okay.
Okay?
Councilors have questions? Councilor Sanders?
Yes, any citizens that want to apply that are residents of Dune City, fill out the application and submit it to the staff. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the planning commission at its 24th meeting will make the decision of who's going to be on the CAC at that point?
Right. That's correct. Yeah, and technically, it's my understanding, and I can clarify this for the council if you'd like, but I don't believe that applicants have to be a resident of Dune City.
You're talking about the experts?
I'm talking about members of the Citizen Advisory Committee.
Anybody?
Right.
Anybody can apply?
Yep.
Okay.
And like I said, they plan on appointing, they're anticipating trying to appoint a 5-member Citizen Advisory Committee. It'll obviously depend on the number of applicants that they get to some degree, so, okay. But again, I would encourage anyone that's interested in participating to apply.
Okay. And Councilor Scarberry?
Yeah, I read the public notice in the newspaper, and at first I thought it was a misprint about not having to be a resident or a landowner. So potentially we could have 5 people from Curry County or Coos County come to be on our CAC. Is that as per state law?
The Citizen Involvement Program policy that was adopted by City Council in January specifies that, and that was as approved by both the city attorney and so, it's my understanding that is the case.
And Mr. Burke has a comment.
Clarification, that is the state law. That's CACs do not have to be and don't have to be in the document. They don't have to be a citizen, and it's to encourage expertise in the area.
Right.
That's the way the CAC laws are written.
It's part of statewide planning goal 1.
Interesting way to approach it.
Okay.
But
Any other
citizens-
questions from council?
But citizens that are residents can apply.
Absolutely.
And should apply.
We would prefer that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Any other questions?
okay, hearing none, we'll move along. Medical marijuana dispensary moratorium, Councilor Sanders?
Yes, on the agenda it says S. Sanders. I don't know who that is, but I'm
Oh,
assuming.
man.
This came out from the League of Oregon Cities. Every councilor got it. It's a very extensive and detailed read about Oregon's medical marijuana program from the beginning to where we are currently. After I read that, and I've talked to several people, I came to the conclusion in my mind that I know there's some councils out there, and I know there's probably some councilors on this panel that would like to outright ban medical marijuana dispensaries in the community. And that would put And those cities are gonna be put at risk of lawsuits from the proponents on the basis of you're violating state law if you don't, to you're violating federal law if you do. And you're gonna be sued, in my opinion, after the read, either way how you go. And I personally would not like to see Dune City on that. I'm not gonna call it the leading edge, Mayor, but I'm gonna call it the bleeding edge. I don't want to expend any tax dollars for our attorney to defend our city in any action. But it caused me to think, in reading through the law, that the primary focus of this law and some of the restrictions in the state law is to protect children, protect families with children. And I thought to myself, I said, what are the locations that we're talking about eligible in our community? And I asked Fred the question, and staff produced a list of the properties that, according to the statute, would be eligible for, this is for staff, that would be eligible to be medical marijuana dispensary sites. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of them. They are Lakeshore Trailer Park, Woolhink Lake RV Resort, Woolhink Lake Sweet Darlings Marina and RV Resort, Silk Coos Lake Resort, Westlake Resort, Lakes Edge RV Park and Marina, Jackson Marina, Fish Mill Lodges and RV Park, Dune City Hall, Siuslaw Valley Fire and Rescue, and the Beckman's property on Lake Boulevard. That's the whole list of properties that are eligible. And I've been doing a lot of jogging and just for my personal fitness, and I've run by all these locations, and I have seen where kids will play at the lake's edge or out on the dock that are going in the marina or hopping in the boat with mom and dad to go fishing. And I thought, all we need to do to protect families and children from this, as the law is doing with its 1,000-foot buffer from schools, is to put that same 1,000-foot buffer from locations where, families with children and children are likely to congregate. That would be these RV parks. You have children in there that families are visiting. This is our tourism industry. Obviously, we want to protect that, but the bottom line is why? It's for where families with children can come. So I kind of had the epiphany of, number one, we can change our code to require that no medical marijuana dispensaries or sites used for growing of medical marijuana can be within 1,000 feet of any place where children may reasonably congregate. And such as, not limited to, any type of marina, any type of public dock or boat launch, any type of public park, any type of business that rents canoes, kayaks, sandboards, so on and so forth. And that no medical marijuana can be, or sites used for growing medical marijuana may be within 1,000 feet of any place of transient lodging typically associated with vacation and tourism, where children would reasonably be expected to be lodged. And this is not limited to, but would affect any type of resort, any type of recreational vehicle park, any type of motel or hotel. And the third thing that I read in this beautiful article is we do have the power to tax. And we could change our code that if a medical marijuana dispensary did come into town, that they would have to pay Dune City a tax on a quarterly basis of whatever percentage the council dictates under the requirements of law. With that all together, I put together just my thoughts on how the law may want to look. This is just my thoughts and my ideas, and there's nowhere a motion or a suggestion at this point. That we could change our chapter 120.80 and create 120.85 medical marijuana dispensaries, define what a medical marijuana is, define what a medical marijuana dispensary is, and put those restrictions on to protect where children are reasonably to congregate. And then we lift this moratorium. There's only one, if we did that, there's only one site on this list that would ever be eligible to be a medical marijuana dispensary site. And that's the fire station on Clear Lake. And I don't think Siuslaw Valley Fire and Rescue has any plans of abandoning that structure and leaving this part of their fire district unprotected.
Dune
Now-
City Hall perhaps would be eligible.
Dune City would be within 1,000 feet of the kayak rental place.
Okay.
If the city developed a park behind us, that would be protected. This would lay it out so that the only thing we're asking to do as a council would be to protect children. Bottom line. I think that's where our responsibility, I know that's how I believe my responsibility is at. Don't get me wrong, I think medical marijuana has its place if it's appropriately dispensed and utilized. I have no problem with that. I think the way that the law is going about it is creating some issues that even the legislatures in the law have identified. That's why they put those restrictions. So what I'd like to do as a suggestion for the council for discussion is perhaps we can take my suggestion and maybe get a consensus or vote to send it to ordinance review and maybe come back with an ordinance. And let's take some action because I don't believe we need any more time on this. I've heard from people, I've done my research. I don't know what else there is to learn. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Council. Thank you very much. I can tell there's been a lot of time and energy and thought put into this. So councilors, other comments?
No, I think this is well put together.
Yeah.
The time that we spent was worth it. I go back to the federal law part of it. It's, you know, under the current administration in DC, nothing's gonna happen. But if we get a different administration here that takes a stronger stance against enforcing federal law at the state level, because I think you've got Colorado, you've got Washington, Oregon's moving that way. I think as they see more and more states going to almost just a complete legalization of it, I think a different administration in DC will, Washington DC, not Dune City, will maybe take a harder stance at it, because we've got a pro-marijuana administration in Washington DC right now. But what Maury has got started here is a good way to regulate it almost out of existence. And what I read in here, it says that we can do that. As far as the taxing part, I'm kind of an anti-tax guy, but you know, as more beef to this, that does make sense. But my only nervousness about it is that it does go against the U.S. Constitution, and when we swore allegiance to Dune City, we also did it to the Constitution of the U.S. And I know it's being ignored, you know, in 47 other states right now, and they're not doing anything. But I think this is a good start, and I'm ready to move forward on something like this because I don't think we need a moratorium for a year. I agree on that.
Okay. Counselor, any comments?
No, I would like to see us closely associated with other cities and see what they're doing too. That they're in our same kind of boat, that would make it some ideas from them as well.
Okay. Counselor Mills?
I have no comment. I mean, I agree with Counselor Sanders. The whole idea is to make sure our children are protected and not exposed to what may happen. And quite frankly, we're a small community. I believe that our code already would pretty much, I mean, you'd have to get really creative and do something to, I think it beefs up our code in a way that was probably needed under the circumstances. And thank you for your time. It's a lot of work, I know.
Counselor Meyer?
It seems very well thought out, and I'm in favor of traveling down this paved road and far out.
Far out, okay.
Mayor Reed, I understand we took our oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and also the Constitution of the State of Oregon, the laws of Oregon, and the ordinances of Dune City. This is the dilemma we find ourselves in, where our oath to one contradicts the oath to the other, and that puts the municipality in jeopardy to be sued either way. And my attitude is let's let some other city get sued. And let's learn from that. But in the interim, I don't see any of these businesses going out of business. If there was a divorce and people were struggling and say they had a marina or whatnot, and they wanted to open up a dispensary or store, that's what I would be, you know, this would come into play if something like that would happen. Not that it would.
Counselor Mills?
Then it doesn't say no forever.
That's
I mean,
correct.
If growth allows in the future, where that one of these places would exist, that's in a bubble off one side, it doesn't say no.
Correct. I'd also like to point out that this 1,000 feet, you know, we could impact that by, you know, 1,500. I mean, that's just a number there. So, I mean, we have the power to dictate what that is. It could be 1,000 yards. I don't know. Just saying. So, is it a consensus of opinion that we'll forward this document to the Ordinance Review Committee?
Do you need a motion here?
We could, yeah, that'd be great.
I would make that motion.
Moved and seconded, that we forward this document for review by the Ordinance Review Committee.
Bring us back.
Recommended ordinance. All right, so any discussion, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Unanimous. All right, thank you so much, Councilor, for all your hard work. New business. I'd like to read this communication that we received at City Hall just prior to last month's, literally days before the meeting. We didn't have a chance to get it on the agenda. And so we thought we'd put it on today's agenda. It says, Dear Mayor Reedy, congratulations. Your community's been selected as a recipient of a special grant from the Oregon Community Foundation. The $5,000 award was approved by OCF's Board of Directors on May 7th, 2014. We're delighted to present the attached grant award to Dune City. These funds should be used to directly benefit and improve the quality of life for your citizens. We're excited to hear how you've chosen to use the funds. Please let me know so we can share your story with communities all across Oregon. This special grant is part of the Oregon Community Foundation's 40th anniversary celebration. They've identified 13 Oregon towns and cities listed below that have never benefited from a grant or scholarship over the past 40 years from the foundation. And these cities are Barlow, Dune City, Granite, Idana, Johnson City, Lone Rock, Maywood Park, Millersburg, Monument, Prescott, River Grove, Sotaville, and Waterloo. We're very proud to provide this special grant in recognition of our community's valuable role in improving life in Oregon as part of the OCF's mission to benefit all Oregonians. We would like a OCF representative to present an award certificate at an upcoming City Council meeting or public event. Please contact Kim Whitney at the below email and phone number. Congratulations, and you're part of an important group chosen to represent the community that is in our state. So we were very surprised and to receive this and pleased, and do any of you counselors have any ideas or have thought about ideas how we might use this $5,000 grant? Councilor Mills.
I would like to see it used on an issue near and dear to my heart, which is to resolve the weir issue and take care of the weir and get that done.
Okay, water issue. Councilor Sanders.
I want to make clear that the sentence in the letter that says, "We are excited to hear how you've chosen to choose the funds," may be miswritten. There has been no decision how to use the funds.
Right, they just mean they're excited when they learn of it, so.
I would like to see the money just go into the unallocated balance since it wasn't part of the budget, and we deal with it to the next budget process.
Is that what we should do, Mr.?
Technically, since this grant was received, even though it was received in the 2013-2014 budget cycle, it was not part of the 2014-2015 budget and allocations. So technically, It should reside in the general fund until next spring, when we start down the 2015-2016 budget cycle, where it can be appropriated by the budget committee and obviously the city council. Meanwhile, it's not a bad idea while the grant is fresh in everybody's mind to brainstorm
Target.
some ideas about that we can carry forward to that point in time.
Yeah. Any further ideas? I am going to concur with Councilor Mills. I think, that we're subject could possibly improve somewhat if we were able to have access to some of those funds, because it's our water. We need to work on that. Any other ideas, councilors? Anybody thought of? How about you, Councilor Anderson?
I just sort of think that when we do allocate it, it'd be for a specific purpose. We don't just take a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there.
Yeah.
It's an honor to have this. I think we ought to make an issue of it and do something important with it.
And I also don't feel like we should put off the celebration and the celebration that we're asked to invite someone, representative of Oregon Community Foundation here. I think we should choose something, or at least target some particular topic to receive the funds and leave it in the budget until next fiscal year. So.
I've already contacted Ms. Whitney, and she's identified both the August and September council meetings as opportunities for them to come and make an official presentation to us.
What would we like? August?
But kind of based on their availability.
Okay, we'll let them
She hasn't
decide.
gotten back to me yet.
Okay, perfect. I'm sure we'll have good coverage of publicity. So anybody else have any other ideas? Councilor
Well,
Meyer?
we talked about, purchasing this land down here, or this property and stuff, so the Weir is a great idea, and that might be another opportunity to look at. We've got, it sounds like a few months to think about it and talk about it and see if there's other options, but those two are the ones that come to my mind right off.
Councilor Sanders?
There's a lot of things that happen between now and then. And when
You mean in 30 days?
between now and when the budget process comes around, the Weir's a good idea. We may want to look at that. I don't know what the future holds for us, so I would just kind of like to reserve my opinion at this point.
Well, I think they're hoping for a topic or a subject so they can publicize. Dune City used theirs for this, Little Rock used theirs for that kind of thing. So maybe we'll get some clarification when we hear from Ms. Whitney, exactly what they are looking for. And I also have learned that there's a member in the Florence community in our area that's part of this, and it's Mr. Roger McCorkle. He has contacted me recently and let it be known that he's a representative of this Oregon Community Foundation. So I was very happy to hear that. So it's a really cool thing. Anything else? No? Okay. We'll go with that. We'll put this on the agenda for next month in order to, have a reporter set a date, or maybe she'll show up. We'll see. Okay. In your packet, councilors, there's some communication from the League of Oregon Cities, and they were asking us as a council and as a city collectively to identify 4 issues that we would like to see brought forth in this next legislative session. So there's quite a lot of them. I'm open for suggestions on how to handle this. I just think okay, here's the short and quick version. Take your ballot and hand it to the city recorder. I mean, that's easy. Or we can go around the room and say which ones we marked. So How do you want to do that? Does everyone want to hear what others have chosen, or?
I think we really should do that, Mayor. It's a public meeting. The public deserves to hear what we.
Okay. That might be, see it that way. Councilor Myers, do you want to start us off?
Sure, the four that I picked were, the first one was under community development, reform the post-acknowledgement plan amendment process to require appellates to raise issues before the local government before raising the issue on appeal. And the second one that I selected was under the general government one, item J, reform Oregon's recall procedures to encourage a greater participation of the electorate and ensure that it is used for reasons involving misconduct. And the last two are both under water and wastewater in terms of U and D, supporting efforts and program funding to address Oregon's long-term water supply needs and support efforts to establish a program to provide low-interest loan opportunities to address failing residential on-site septic systems.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome.
Councilor Sanders?
Yeah, I happen to highlight my documents and just transfer to this. Community development, I agree that item D, reform the post-acknowledgement plan amendment process to require appellants to raise issues before the local government before raising the issue on appeal is important for us. Under finance and taxation, I would like to see the improved clarity and certainty around transient lodging tax statute. G, our general government, item J, I agree with Sheldon that reform Oregon's recall procedures to encourage a greater participation of the electorate and ensure that it is used for reasons involving misconduct. The last one I selected was under wastewater B, to support efforts to establish a program that would provide low-interest loan opportunities to address failing residential on-site septic systems. The new loan program would support repair and replacement of failing systems or conversion to a municipal water system, which I'm not saying we need, if the conversion is at the request of the impacted municipality. I think that's critically important where we're going with some of the issues we've dealt with in the past. And those are my four recommendations.
Okay, I'm just gonna go next, and I also agree with V, under water, wastewater, support efforts to establish a program. My next one was under telecommunications, support the reintroduction of legislation that repeals ORS 221-515. That involves doesn't really tell you what it involves, does it? Q, protection of local authority to manage public rights of way, roads, and receive compensation for any use of the facilities. Continues to be at the forefront of the League's telecommunications agenda. The League's Oregon municipal policy generally asserts local government home rule authority and specifically refers to the Telecommunication Management and Compensation Authority of Oregon. That's basically why I picked that one, because we do want to be able to negotiate those things with our telecommunication providers. Human resources, P requires earlier submission of the last best offer. That has to do with litigation and preventing litigation, I guess, or, you know, giving some thought to that. And then the fourth one I selected was prioritize grants providing assistance for natural disaster planning and updating comprehensive plans to address likely natural disasters in the community and increase the grant funds available to cities through the DLCD's general grant funds to $2 million. And I guess I'm feeling a little, selfish for Dune City on that one, because we could, we might be able to take advantage of some of these types of funds for disaster planning and so that's why I selected those. Jamie?
I agree with you on, under community development, the prioritization of grants providing for assistance for natural disaster planning and updating comprehensive plans. I also support under telecommunications. Item R, oppose legislation preempting the ability of cities to manage and receive compensation for use of the public rights of way. That would require us changing our code pretty significantly, I'm afraid. And then I also, of course, supported V, the support efforts to establish a program that would provide low-interest loan opportunities for on-site septic systems for failures, replacements, and repairs. I also put in, under transportation, item S, but I would like to add an addendum to it, because it said, S is pass a comprehensive transportation funding and policy package. That's fine, but I would like to be, that would be fair to all communities regardless of size. So I'm kind of iffy on that one, but that's how I feel about that.
Okay.
Okay, I agree that we ought to prioritize grants that give us a better way to, in a natural disaster, be in a better position. And I'm not sure exactly what this means, improved clarity and certainty around transient lodging tax statute. Is that?
What number is that? What letter?
Aye.
That's the motels.
Yeah, okay, that's motel. We get a good deal of our income for the city from that, I believe, and I think we should be interested in how that goes out. And then we've already talked about the clarify and enhance medical marijuana dispensary regulations. And we've talked at some length about if there was some way to provide low-interest loan opportunities for people who, and see, this may be just right on our alley. Other than that, I found a lot of things that I either didn't understand what they were, or I couldn't figure how they would apply to us.
Agreed. Thank you, Counselor.
Can we have the tally sheets?
Counselor, oh yeah, passing down this way as you read them off. Counselor Scarberry?
Likewise on C, the prioritizing grants for the disaster planning. H, improving fairness on how new and improved property tax is added to the tax rolls. I, improve clarity around the transient lodging tax statute. And then L, clarifying the medical marijuana dispensary regs.
Okay. All right. Task accomplished. We'll see how it goes. Kind of interesting to keep track of that.
Yeah, I'll provide a summary to you as well as returning. Renee, would you mind would you like your information back so you?
Do we need to make any type of direction to staff on how to answer the question?
Basically,
No, he's
yeah.
just gonna-
I'm going to take the results, summarize and shake them down, and whichever ones get the most votes. And I'm assuming that there's going to end up, because there won't be a total, there's going to be one or two or maybe three, the way I was keeping track, that only have one vote that just aren't going to get there. So, but I think we had at least 4 or 5 that were hit by several of you. So I don't anticipate having trouble telling them which are the top 4.
Oh, good. All right. Counselor Mills?
I know I will forget what I've done, so I would like a copy
Okay.
of mine, and you know which one it
Actually, maybe I would want a copy of the one I selected also.
I put your name on yours, Counselor.
You could,
is. Oh, did you? Because I put that, fair to all cities to know the
you
size.
could also circle the ones too that you.
I know, but I didn't do that when I was filling it out.
Oh, okay.
Unlike you.
She's going to make copies and give copies right back to you.
Okay, very good. Okay.
We were supposed to do something else?
No, that's it. That's all we were asked. Anyone else have any comments or?
I want to thank the council for taking the time it took to read through that and cover all the legislative priorities. League of Oregon Cities works really hard at trying to lobby on our behalf, and this is important to them. So thank you for taking the time to do that.
And you know, if I could just follow up another comment with that, is that next February, they'll have a Cities Day at the Capitol where we will be able to go as a council and get an update, get a legislative update. That's exactly what that's for. We'll be able to go to the Capitol and the League of Oregon Cities and the governor will give us an update on what the status of this legislation is. So that'll be great. I don't know, did they do this last time, Fred? I don't recall them doing
Nope.
this.
Well, we did get a legislative briefing, but we did not get an opportunity, at least I'm not aware of. Hope I didn't let it slip through the crack to have input to the process. I think they've done a better job of getting city input to the process.
That is absolutely correct. I like that. Okay. Councilor Mills?
Yes, it was something that we could do in our email newsletters. In the past, you could go in and you could state, but it wasn't as comprehensive as this and as clear and easy to accomplish.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I've ever done it before, so how's that for
They can-
getting people motivated to do it? It's awesome. Okay, any other comments? Well, before we start our reports, okay, I have a report this evening. And this is how it starts out. CQ. In ham radio lingo, that means we are seeking someone to reply to our broadcast message. I know. Fred and I had the privilege of attending the annual field day event by the local ham radio club at Sutton Lake Campground on June 28th. And the club spent 24 hours communicating with other radio operators around the world. And this was really fun. That's what they would do when they wanted to transmit and get someone to reply. They would go CQ. And I asked what the origination of that was, and he said it comes from a derivative of Morse code. And when they tried to turn that into like radio, verbal communication over the airwaves, it's C and then Q sort of sounds like seeking you. So that was really, I just thought that was very interesting. I did not know that. So we really learned, I speak for myself, I really learned a lot, and it was very, very informative. I was impressed on how detailed our operations were, and the technology was very, very impressive. It certainly gave me, as a community leader, a sense of well-being in the event that we were to be faced with a situation when traditional communications were not operational, such as a natural disaster or man-made emergency, that we would be able to communicate to the outside world. So I really had a good time, and I know Fred did as well, and we spent a couple hours there and saw their operation. It was very impressive. The next thing, just an announcement, beginning with the next city council meeting, I requested that the city manager provide the council with an unaudited ending fund balances from the previous month's budget. There have been a number of requests for this type of information from different councilors over the months, and I'm quite pleased to report that, again, that we'll commence this next month for July, which is the first month of our fiscal year, and so we'll have that right?
That's right.
Okay. And finally, the last thing, I'd like to recognize Councilor Sheldon Meyer as being officially funny. Okay. Recently, Sheldon had a published joke in the Eugene Register-Guard in the Pluggers cartoon. And here it is. This is it right here. And it says, if I might read it, it says, okay, the girl's standing at the window, she's a clerk, and she going, "Is that your given name, sir?" And he goes, "Oh, sorry, it's Edgar." And so then the joke is, you're probably a plugger if you still go by Junior, Buddy, or Junior, Butch, or Buddy. So we always knew you were a funny counselor, but now we know it's official. You are a published funny person. So in commemoration of that, I saved it for you.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, all right, that's my report. Now you're an official funny person. Okay. Counselor Meyer, it's your turn to speak now.
My first cartoon publication. We got the first the newsletters out. I
Yes.
thought that went well and looked pretty good. I was pleased that we submitted as a part of that, the Scotch Bloom issue, because I would very, very, very much like to see Dune City become an official Scotch Bloom free community. So I'm going to be pushing that in education.
Okay, wow.
That's all.
That's
I submitted funnier ones than these.
oh, but that's the one they picked, huh?
So then,
So I left Dukes.
Okay, we're losing control. Counselor Mills.
The ordinance review committee couldn't come up with a date, and that's my fault. I've had lots of company and visitors and issues going on in life. So we didn't meet yet, but now we've got 2 things on our agenda, so we're gonna have to. That's all there is to it. And next month would be a great month to do that because I don't have company coming until after the 18th next month. I don't know what got the word out that, gee, we should all go visit Jamie and Ron this year, but. Water Quality Committee, we had a meeting on June 18th, and both lakes are looking good. And Steve reported on the TMDL stakeholder meetings, which, by the way, a brand new, hot off the presses, got the email yesterday, report on the effects of setbacks on water quality is done by, I believe, the university at the request of the state DEQ. I haven't read the report yet, but I intend to get a report to you on what their findings were in the future. We had continued discussion on the issue of boat flushing at Wallahink Lake, and we decided that attempts would be made to man the boat launch area during the salmon season, October and November, so that volunteers could maybe sit in somebody's RV, we have an RV parked in the parking lot there, and just count the number of people that put their boat in the water. You can kind of tell if they're flushing it, because they just put around a little bit and come back out. But if they're, brought the whole family and they're doing other things and fishing, you can tell the difference between the two. Not approach them, not talk to them, but just count.
Observe.
And that way, we would have numbers that we could then go to, say, the Marine Board, or if it appears that it is a really, really bad problem for Wallahink Lake, then we could go to the Marine Board and seek funding and assistance from one of these other groups to come help resolve the issue and get it under control. So we're working on it.
Do we have signing? We have that one sign there.
Yeah, that's the only signage we have. We've discussed all kinds of different things, handing out pamphlets, which requires somebody to stand there and hand them to them, and then what are they gonna do? Are they gonna throw it overboard? What are they, is it just gonna make another problem? We've talked about some things and we're still talking about it. And then also, while they're out there, if they do see somebody do it, then maybe they can see what the trailer number was, or the license plate number was, or a description of the boat or the vehicle or something. And then we can report that information to the state police, because they've indicated that they would be interested, if we could report that to them. So we're working on that. We talked about water tester training, and Rich Miller indicated that he was, thank you to Bonnie for contacting Rich, indicating that he was unaware of any specific videos available to demonstrate water testing processes. So we're going to continue working on that issue. You gotta love Bonnie and her video. She tries, but when you're on a boat,
Makes everybody sick.
everybody gets sick watching the video. Boat safety training was discussed, and since the state already requires every licensed boat operator to have safety training before they get their license, it was suggested that before the testers go out, that the boat operator go through a quick checklist with the passengers, and so that they'll know where the safety equipment is, the fire extinguisher, the life jackets and all that stuff, and that we develop, the committee suggested adding protocol to the quality assurance protection plan that we have to follow anyway for water testing, that it requires any passengers under the age of 18 years to wear a life jacket at all times while aboard the boat. That, we don't have that as a requirement now, and we think like we probably should. Steve Hager met with Mark Chandler and Christopher John on a Saturday not long ago to discuss the city's website and how best to get the information on there. Chris is supposed to get together with Fred to get the information necessary so that they can work out the details on what's the best format to use and how to go about that. And I don't know if that's happened yet or not. Chris is pretty busy right now.
Right,
So.
it has not been
Okay.
attached yet.
I compiled everything that the committee had suggested on the comprehensive plan, natural resource sections of the comprehensive plan, and handed those out. One thing I brought up, and it's funny, Bonnie, I put Albany in my notes, and I told you guys Oregon City. I went online to look at other sections of comprehensive plans in other cities. And one of those cities, I'm gonna have to find it, figure out which one it was, takes the statewide planning goals, and their whole comprehensive plan follows the exact same process, setup of the statewide, and it makes it clear. Which, the whole idea of the comprehensive plan is to ensure that our code not only meets what the city wants on the opinion of its own community, but it meets the statewide planning goals. So if it were set up in the same order, it just makes it kind of, I thought, being the kind of person I am, that it makes it more logical. So we're looking at that a little bit, and I would suggest that if you get a chance that everybody kind of look around on that. Steve Hager did say that he spoke with Rich Miller and that we should go with the Winkler oxygen testing process, but the problem with that particular oxygen DO test is the byproduct is iodine. And they recommend that you just dump it down in your sewer system, you know. And we don't think that's a good idea. Iodine is an antibacterial, yeah. And so probably could cause some problems with our septic. So Fred thankfully came to the meeting and said, well, hey guys, why don't we just save it up and take it to the hazardous waste disposal thing twice a year? Well, great idea. And so the Siuslaw Watershed Council will be purchasing the Winkler oxygen testing process machine thingy for Dune City. Our next meeting will be July 16th at 3 o'clock. Thank you, sorry I know it's long.
No, it's great. It's very informative. Appreciate that.
You're quite welcome.
Okay. Let's see, lost my place. Counselor Wells is absent. Counselor Anderson?
Yes, I was not at last month's meeting, and I was on another lake in the east, and makes you really appreciate your own lake, believe me,
Oh, wow.
and the water quality.
Wow.
But to my knowledge, while I've been gone and recently back, we have had no complaints on conservation
Issues.
boundary issues at all. Okay, and then I plan that during this coming month we'll have more information for you on property acquisition in that committee.
Okay. Thank you. Counselor Scarberry?
No meeting this past month, but I took a field trip to our overlooking the river here. I stopped by and I ran some ideas by Fred, and I thought I'd run them by you because there may be need for a few dollars to be spent. The deck out there and everything really needs to be cleaned. It needs to be pressure washed. It's got a buildup of scunge, even though it's not real wood. It needs to be cleaned, and we need to get a water source first to hook up to a pressure washer, unless you've got a big industrial one, you've got your own water. And Fred can comment on that in a minute, but we talked about the wellhead out there having a spigot put in just so you can hook up to water.
Oh.
And also, I've noticed there's beer cans and picnic debris and things like that that people have thrown over, so I thought it'd be a good idea to get a waste can out there, chain it someplace, maybe put up a sign telling people what that's used for. So that would help the appearance of over the deck, because I went down below and walked around, and there's stuff that people have either thrown over or it's fallen over. It looks pretty trashy down there by the water. There are a couple of, and I noticed them last fall when our group took a field trip over there. There's some overhanging dead limbs that probably could be fairly easily knocked down, but if you get a chance, walk over there and look up. There's several trees that are dying from the top down. One is broken and the top is laying down, so there are some hazards over there. But if we're gonna clean that area up to make it a better use for folks, we need to look up and kind of clear out some of the overhead stuff, because all it takes is, one of these afternoon winds and some of those dead branches could fall. So, I don't think it would take that much money to do what needs to be done over there. And I've got a pressure washer. I'd be happy to come and pressure wash it if we had a water source to plug into there.
Well,
You want to comment now?
Sure.
Yeah, just to kind of supplement Councilor Scarberry's report, all of his comments are really appropriate. The Overlook Park is in need of some upgrade, some maintenance. As he commented, most of the maintenance can be done by volunteers, and I think even some of the tree work, I believe, can be done by a volunteer that's licensed and bonded to do that. The one thing that we will need to spend some money on is upgrading the pump house, and I spoke to this last winter when we had a freeze and the water system here at City Hall was shut down. Few people realize it, but the city's well is at the end of Spruce Street, in that little hidden in that little doghouse right in the middle of the right-of-way, adjacent to the park. So what we need to do is, and we've got the money in the budget to go in and for this year's budget to go in, I would anticipate in August, and upgrade the foundation around the well casing and lay a new concrete foundation around it and build a new doghouse over the top of it. And while we're at it, we might as well put a tap faucet off the wellhead so that could be accessed and used for pressure washing when somebody's up there wanting to pressure wash. So
it's great.
I think it's, we're probably looking at, I think I've got about $800 budgeted, but I think we're looking more like in the neighborhood of $300 or $400.
Okay, should we get a motion to do that, or do you think you can just
I-
handle it, just go for it?
It's budgeted, so my intention was to put a
Okay.
purchase order in front of you, and we're off and running.
Okay, we'll do it. Counselor Sanders?
Yes, while you're out there, would it be beneficial to put any insulation around it, or maybe put electrical lights so in the winter when it's cold, we turn the light on and that'll provide enough heat to keep that from freezing?
Absolutely, that's part of the plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, Counselor Anderson.
I might suggest that the Boy Scout troop might be interested in doing the trash cleanup and so forth.
Oh, okay.
They like projects like that.
Oh,
And I
Do
can-
you have a contact?
Yes.
Okay.
I can to
Thank
that person, Johnson anyway.
Okay.
Andy Johnson?
No, it works for PVD.
Okay,
Anyway.
we'll get it.
We'll get it. Thank you.
Sorry. Any further comments? Thank you, Counselor.
Thanks.
In years past, we've kind of put together a little of our, just, to do that, but I think, using some equipment, you probably do need some help.
And I know that if I owned that as private property, there'd be some of those real skinny, the ugly dead pine with all the stuff on the top, I'd probably take out at the ground level, because, like I said, they're dying from the top down, and I don't know what that would entail. If we're gonna have to go through some kind of process since it's so close to
The water.
yeah, if you get a chance before the next meeting, just step over there, kind of look around at some of that area, if you haven't been there.
Okay.
lately.
Thank you. Counselor Sanders?
There was that road commission meeting the first week of January that I already reported on. There was not any additional one, and we're going to meet later this month. There's nothing really more to report on other than what's already, what you see before you in the road commission minutes But I would like to ask Fred if you would mind jumping in and give a status update of the slurry seal projects, road maintenance projects for 2014, because I know that has begun, and it might be beneficial to put out, and you're the one that has the direct info.
Thank you. You want me to do
Please.
that now? Okay. Regarding the 2014 street maintenance projects that were budgeted for and approved and have been all signed off on, the project was let to Johnson Rock Products from Coos Bay. We put out a press release last week that basically announced that we would begin the patch and repair work this week. I'm pleased to announce that work started on schedule, and while we've had a couple minor little hiccups, it's gone very smoothly. It included work on Laguna Avenue, Osprey Way, and Leanza Drive. And I'm also pleased to announce that we've received the slurry seal schedule for the streets that will be slurry sealed. And I believe there's a total of 10 of those. And if you want a list of what those are, I'd be happy to provide them. But basically, we plan on doing a door-to-door kind of thing, making sure that everybody is aware that during the week of August 11th, the people that live on those streets that will be directly impacted by the slurry seal process are notified. So we'll be using, like I say, a door-to-door campaign to make sure that everybody gets notified. Most of the slurry seal work, just to kind of give you an overview, is there's two streets, Maple and Laguna, in the southwest lake area of Dune City. Several streets in the Hilltop area, not Hilltop itself, but several streets in that area, and Leanza Drive and Lakeshore Drive. Thank you.
And also part of that press release, because this firm is coming in, if residents, and I've had people ask me, if residents want to have work done on their driveway, whether it be slurry sealed or patch and repair, they can contact the contractor and negotiate their own deal.
Right, yep.
I mean,
Yeah, we included that information in the press release, and we'll also include it in the public notice for August 11th.
Okay.
I neglected to mention Catich is also on the list of streets to be slurried.
Can I ask a question? What exactly is slurry?
Slurry seal is similar, you've seen this coating of asphalt or tar, a tar-like substance that dries hard, that people put on their driveways. That's called a seal coat, which is basically just a tar seal that has special characteristics about it that cause it to dry so that it doesn't remain tacky. A slurry seal is the slurry seal that's being done in Dune City on our roads has an asphalt component to it. Basically a very fine, not fine like sand, but fine gravel component, so that it adds some durability and toughness. It's basically what was done to several city streets in the 2009 street maintenance program, including Spruce Street out here in front of City Hall, and it's held up very nicely. We're in the 5th year since this program, and it's done a really nice job for us. So
it keeps the moisture out from the asphalt into the cracks and raising it up, so
Yeah,
it actually extends the life of the pavement.
it's intended to extend the life of the pavement for at least 5 to 10 years.
Okay, thank you, I'm glad I asked, thank you. You're done, all right. Mr. Hilden, your couple of reports.
Thank you. Emergency services, again, our focus on emergency services last month was getting the budget for next year approved, which was done. Chief Langborg is doing a nice job of keeping us focused on our own EOC training that needs to be done to make sure that our designated staff members that participate in the EOC are properly trained. And so that's got to be a personal agenda item for me, because I'm probably the least well-trained of any of them in terms of the official state level training or federal level training classes that are conducted. We scheduled a special session on July 21st at 9 a.m. before the regular West Lane Emergency Operations Group meeting, primarily with a focus on kind of re-looking at the mission statement and make sure that we're going in the right direction. And in terms of the city administrator planning report to council, our permit activity increased again in the month of May. We issued a total of 12 permits, including 3 mechanical, 2 structural, 3 vegetation, and 4 electrical permits. There were no new home permits issued. However, we've already had one in July of this year I'll go into more detail about in next month's report. Work continued on one subdivision, and I'm pleased to announce that 2 partition applications are probably going to get closed out this month. That's the Puzzle Forest project that's across from the Clear Lake Road Fire Station. They've completed the paving, and I talked to the inspector today, and the job has been inspected to the city engineer's satisfaction, and that will actually become a city street as part of the approval of the final plat. We anticipate doing that at the July Planning Commission meeting. Several residents have called and commented about cougar and bear sightings. In fact, I had one day before yesterday. A bear cub was sighted running up Spruce Street, obviously looking for its mother. But it's just another reminder that these things are out there every single day. And of course, deer being the biggest thing. And please try to avoid feeding these wild animals, because all it does is create a bigger problem. And please keep your garbage covered and inside if you can. The Planning Commission was informed, I've kind of already covered that. As I mentioned earlier in my report to council, the Planning Commission did review the instructions from council to appoint a CAC to review the septic system maintenance ordinance number 203. I think that's moving along nicely. The City Council held a triathlon debriefing on June 10th, and everyone was pretty stoked about the results of this year's event and looking forward to next year's event. We had pretty good participation not only by the council but by the community members as well. Council adopted the fiscal year budget last month, which was a good thing. We plan on continuing with quarterly review meetings, and as the mayor mentioned in her report, we're going to start having monthly fund balance input to council. With this budget year adopted, the purchase order for the 2014 street maintenance projects was approved, and as I mentioned a little bit ago, we were off and running with that. The winning bidder was Johnson Rock Products at $39,318, about $6,000 under the city engineer's estimate. As we expected, there will be some very modest change orders against that, mostly as it relates to the patch and repair piece of the bid, which is the smallest amount. I believe that was $12,000 of the $39,000. What happens is until you open up these streets, that many of which were done with not necessarily ODOT standard specifications, okay? You find that there was no base gravel put down. They were paved. We have in some cases pavement over clay. So in those instances, when you don't really know what you've got until you open up the pavement. So we had a minor discovery like that today that will result in a change order of a few $100s, but not a big deal. This year marks the 100th anniversary of Westlake and the original Westlake plat, and I'm kind of doing some inquiries to see if anybody plans on doing anything. But if anyone has any knowledge of how we might want to go about celebrating that, I'd be interested in hearing about it. And finally, staff has been placing quite a bit of additional focus on updating our permit fees, and we anticipate having a draft ordinance ready for the council to look at in September. This is as it relates to our structural and mechanical permits. It's been quite a while since they've been updated. Want to make sure they're in alignment with where they should be. I don't anticipate any major increases or reductions, but I do want to get them formally adopted by the council. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, that's a lot.
Mr. Hilton, do you have any objections to notifying the garbage collectors, to providers of the streets that are being story sealed, so if there's conflict with their schedules, they can make arrangements to work around it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We'll make sure we do that.
Okay, for the good of the order, how about Counselor Scarberry? Nothing.
I'm just real pleased that George is our citizen this year and
Yes.
very deserving and very quiet, but he gets the job done and he's not afraid to express his opinion when we go wrong, and I appreciate that. Good choice.
Here, here, I agree. Jamie?
First of all, thank you to whoever mowed Bird Park, because not only did they mow it, but they also trimmed, and it looks so nice. I think it's the new guy that moved into the new house there that did it, because I know Barry will go up and use his riding mower, but he can't get under all the stuff with his riding mower, so I saw this guy doing it, so thanks to whoever that, I'm sorry I don't know you, I will introduce myself. When I get a chance, I'll come knock on your door. Also, slurry seal, you want to make sure that you give it plenty of time to dry before you drive on it. Drive before you drive on it, because if you go down Parkway Drive, you'll see why. On the steep part, we have tire tracks all the way down. But that's because it's so shady there. You know, and we waited the time, but it was so shady from all the trees that it just didn't dry well. And I was going to say, it's kind of bittersweet, but the deer actually, with all the cougar sightings in our neighborhood, and a lot of neighbors lost their cats. My cat's just mad because we won't let it out anymore. The deer are starting to show up. We had a fawn and a mom this morning in the yard. So that gives me, I hope, a good feeling that maybe I don't have to worry about running into a cougar when I go out to the chicken coop at night.
That's good. Well, we saw two little forked horns still in velvet. They were so cute. So that's all I have to say. Councilor Sanders?
Yeah, in regards to that story seal, it's important that we get the notice out to people because, very true, we're doing it this time of year to give it the maximum time to dry. It takes about 24 hours. We're trying to, if we can get it in less, more power to us, but if you drive on it, and that stuff gets under your car,
Yes.
trust me, it's also a disaster to try to get your car clean. For the good of the order, I'd like to ask, Mayor, if you would mind taking the lead on this triathlon project and working, coordinating with Blair Bronson and Best of the West as our point of contact to make sure that we start this process, because one of the things we talked about in the debrief is we want to start now and moving on it and approaching the businesses and touting this thing. And I'm with you there, but I really would like to see you as the mayor take the lead role on this signature event for our community. And again, I know it's putting you on the spot, but I just wanted to tell you, I felt
She's kind of already done that in as much as she sent an
Kind of
email to
formalized it
Blair.
so everybody
Yeah, so,
So, yeah, well,
I'm done.
Counselor, I'm happy to do that for you, but please do expect that I will make some delegations.
of course.
So, yeah, no, it really is gonna take all of us to do that, and we've gotten some, we have some ideas that we've kind of been bouncing around about how to market it and, you know, perhaps get some sponsor support. And, you know, I'm all good for, you know, going and do the little speaking engagements and such like that, and I'll be asking people to go with me, and we'll do that. So,
I appreciate it.
all right. Councilor Meyer?
Two quick things. I idolize George Burke, and Mary wants me to be just like him should I ever grow up. And the second thing is that Bonnie Allen, I think, has gone way beyond her normal goodness in doing some water quality research. She skied around the entire lake on Monday a couple of times, just making sure that everything was okay.
Kind of sitting down at
And well, she did test the temperature of the water once when she let that go, and
All in the job. All in the job description.
that's it.
Okay. Well, guess that leaves us with adjournment. It's 8:20. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second, and it's 8:20.